Now, almost half of smokers don't know that vaping poses much lower health risks than cigarettes, according to Public Health England.
Yeah, smoking still remains the biggest cause of preventable deaths, with 78,000 every single year. So are e-cigarettes the easiest and healthiest way to help people quit? Well, here to talk about this in a bit more detail is the Director of the UK Vaping Industry Association, John Dunne. Very good morning to you.
Morning.
Imagine you welcome the fact that they're saying that, you know, it's a healthy way to quit, but there is mixed information, isn't there? I remember a bit of research a few months back from Birmingham University. I think they were warning that, you know, it can actually still be dangerous to people.
I think there's a lot of misapprehension about the safety of vaping. Nobody is saying that vaping is 100% safer, but what we do know is that when you compare it to smoking, it's at least 95% safer.
Are you surprised, though, that lots of people don't actually know that it's safer?
Well, what's actually surprising is that that number is getting worse. If you go back and look over 2013 to 2017, those amount of people who think that vaping is at least as safe or even worse than smoking has actually quadrupled over the last 5 years, which is the wrong way to go. So obviously this type of report goes a long way to reversing that.
How have you gauged the reaction of the sort of health agencies in this country? Looking at the advice from British Heart Foundation, they said they would not advise non-smokers to take up e-cigarettes, but they can be a useful tool for harm reduction and to stop smoking. And broadly, that's the consensus, isn't it? Has it taken a long time to get to that point?
It has, but I think the UK stands out around the world as being the proponent of vaping as part of their smoking cessation strategy. So if you look at Stocktober, for instance, this year, which is the Public Health England Stop Smoking campaign, this was the first year that they had featured vaping as part of that campaign. So that's a major step. But we're very different here in this country when you look at what's happening, say, in the US, where they take a very different view on nicotine consumption versus smoking. Whereas here we look at smoking cessation versus the consumption of nicotine.
Do you think that other countries broadly, to put it bluntly, have it wrong? Just looking at the list, vaping is illegal in Argentina, Brazil, Brunei, Cambodia, Egypt, India, Indonesia, Jordan, Lebanon. I could go on.
I think they do. In all honesty. As I said, nobody's saying that it's 100% safer, but what we do know is that when it's compared to smoking, it's far better for you to use vaping.
And how about when it's compared to things like patches, gum?
What we find actually is that when you compare it to patches and gum, the success rate of smokers quitting using vaping is far higher using vaping than it is using those other methods.
But do you think with vaping it's becoming a bit of a fad at the moment? It's actually a bit cool to vape, it seems. And is that a worry when people start to think in that way? Well,
I think if you look at social media, there is a subset of vapers that you see with these larger devices, you know, creating clouds and things like that. And that's more of a lifestyle choice. But many vapers do it very discreetly, and you'd hardly even know they were doing it. And I think one of the challenges in this country is there's still 7 million people that are smoking, and they're of the older demographic. So they're the ones that we need to be convincing to make that change.
However, the industry won't be unhappy about the fact that some people who are non-smokers may choose to, you know, it's a billion-pound industry, so you as an industry won't be turning people away.
Well, the UK has a lot of robust legislation in place. We have not seen really an uptake in non-smokers taking up vaping. And the agencies like ASH have been tracking that for many years. So we really don't see that cropping up in the UK.
John, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us. Appreciate your time this morning.